The Cornfields. Obviously, this was the place where I was supposed to going to die. We were sitting in the back of the truck in November with the cold, frosty wind coming from all directions. I recognized the road. I knew we were heading back towards the village of Ernestinovo, where I had fought my first day. This time, we went to a different position, securing the route between the villages that enemy could intercept and cut off any moment. We would try to make jokes. Some guys would talk about having sex with their wives or girlfriends. I was told often, Mario, you are getting old. You are changing and losing your hair. I knew my life was different and that I was undergoing something of metamorphosis. Almost 5 months into the war, I was just barely 19 years old. Apart from having my MG42, I got a knife as I knew sooner or later I was going to be in a position where I couldn't carry that weapon, had no ammunition, and was surrounded. I needed something for personal defense. I didn't want to take a gun. That was too fancy for me, and I didn't believe in small calibers anyway. You could see the city was becoming a ghost town. The first snow was sticking to the soil and the trees had lost their leaves. There was no cars on the street, just the checkpoints. There was danger everywhere across Croatia. We were tired and the enemy had a pool of reserve soldiers and volunteers. We only had us and we knew it. It was just a question of some of the lines would be broken. We were thinly spread, but wherever we were, one thing was certain: we would not let anyone pass us and fight until our last drop of the blood. We had our special insignia, but still no winter uniforms. We had ammunition, but no new weapons. We had food, but it dated from the 50s and 60s. There was no more cooked food. The truck stopped on the road with the open fields either side. The enemy villages were a few kilometers away. They could see us, but we couldn't see them. We arrived at the motel and I was remembering how just a few months ago this place was being visited by many people. There will have been live music, drinking, food and enjoyment. It was a naked motel. Naked means no doors, windows or furniture. Nothing. I didn't hear my orders, so I couldn't care less anymore. I went looking for my position. I walked inside with a few of my boys. Our senior officer was talking to my commanding officer, telling us we needed to stay here for the next 48 hours. The intelligence services had information that enemy was about to move hard over this area. If they broke this line, the next 4 or 5 villages would fall. They would come straight to my city. There were 35 kilometers of open fields, perfect for armored vehicles. Obviously, this was the place where I was going to die. It was very quiet. We were looking for where we're going to sit and lie down. They found a big bed from one of the rooms. It had no mattress or anything. We were cold and lit fire inside. There was a stink of ham that came from the canned food. We'd worked out how to bake food inside the cans. Yeah, it was a little bit of laugh as we shared the little bit of grub we had. Then I started coughing again, followed by someone else and someone else. Half of us was very sick and running temperature. I saw blood again in my palm. I said to myself, not again. Then you wonder to yourself, what else I can endure? What else can control me? I was using to snort a grappa, a couple paracetamols. Some guys had different type of medicine and offered them to me, but I said no. I knew deep inside of me that this was just another day and just another drop of my blood from my lungs into my palm. This is just a part of life. I can do it. I can survive. How mistaken I was. From a military point of view, I could understand the importance of this position between two villages connected by flat roads. There was maybe 3 kilometers between Ernestinovo and Laszlo. They needed to protect that route, and there was the possibility to outflank and cut off the enemy. There were only 3 or 4 of us, no more. From a logistical point of view, it was a nightmare. If you have any wounded, it can easily be seen by the enemy from all sides, with the trucks or vehicles tries to come and collect them. You had to expect shelling, snipers, and any type of weapon possibly that could be used to destroy communication between that motel and the villages on the both sides. We had terrible night vision. I didn't know how could some use during the night. Even our vehicle were hard to recognize when driving without lights to bring us food or other supplies. A lot happened that night. The sun had set and gone. This usually happened around 4 p.m. and it became very cold very quickly. It wasn't just a frost. The temperature dropped to 1 or 2 degrees below zero, maybe more. Everything was freezing, including the paddocks on the road. The water and the rations would be next, but we knew that we needed to put our fire, as in the night you could see it from kilometers away. Just imagine the motel in the middle of the road surrounded by open fields with a fire inside. That was when they liked to shoot at us. So, we needed to extinguish the fire. I was learning to lean next to the window, seeing what was happening in front of the motel. Everybody was at the one window, looking around. We had 2 guards outside, but that was it. We did not have enough men to cover one motel. It was more like a D-Day bunker on the Normandy beaches. Light was getting dimmer, and there was a very soft-speaking radio on a minimum volume. Apart from that, there was a silence. I was watching the sky grow darker and darker. Stars in the sky become brighter and brighter. Your eyes are wide open, soaking in every possible light, scanning the environment because the last thing you needed was something to call on your enemies. Suppose you accidentally fired at the trees or threw the hand grenade. That would be for us. Then you get up. Living this life, you get up with the desire to live. You don't care anymore that you're sick with temperature and you're coughing blood. You have your jacket, equipment, and weapons always ready, the trigger finger ready to shoot. You're not tired. You're not thirsty. And the stars are so bright, like you have put a Christmas tree in the sky. Then the full moon appeared, with its welcoming illumination of the hills around us. Something was amongst all of us. We become very uncomfortable thinking it was possibly something on our minds. Something odd happened as the night went on. We had one person observing and guarding the motel while the others would sleep. I remember 4 of us squeezed together like sardines on that king-size bed. There was no mattress, no pillows, nothing. We were lying down with all our equipment and in our uniforms, holding each other, trying to keep warm. One of the boys found some old curtain to cover us. The curtains were full of the holes. Then my shift came, 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. Honestly, I hated those shifts. I knew my body just wanted to sleep and I was shutting down. I knew I had to put and push myself to stay awake. Even though the purpose of everything was to preserve your life and defend your country, your body had a different idea, trying to find ways to slow you down. You had to try to unfight your biological clock. You tried to push yourself. Imagine having a coffee or talking to somebody in your head. I listened to what was happening outside. Your eyes and ears become your best friend, along with your nose. I saw the first light on the horizon, slowly appearing, and I knew I survived another day. Maybe it was ridiculous to think that way, but I believed that seeing the first light was the way to count my days of surviving another night. Now I could go home, cough up blood, and it was going to be okay. One of my comrades came to ask how I was. I just said to him, "Can you hear that?" I swore to God I could hear something moving to the cornfields. He says, "Mario, you're imagining things. Listen and look at the window," I said. He checked one of our comrades' watches with his torch, checking the time. It was 4:45 in the morning. I said, "I'm going to wake up the others." Then I realized what I heard. It was not my imagination. In the cornfields, slowly but certainly, the plants were breaking and the grass was moving. Everybody was awake in the next 2 or 3 minutes. Everybody was at the windows. As the light was appearing, the sound disappeared. Then it appeared again and disappeared. The tension in us was so high. Then we got a call on radio. An observer in one of the villages could see a large group of enemies surrounding us from all sides. All night they seen sporadic light in the fields and in the forest and followed us. I asked my comrade what time was, to which he said it was 5 a.m. I replied, "Well, if something's going to happen, it will happen now." He looked at me and said, "Mario, maybe it's just a false alarm. Maybe everybody is imagining things." We start all laughing. That very moment, an RPG hit the wall of the room we were in. Then second RPG. I remember I went flying from one side of the window to another, to the middle of the room. Everything was suddenly so dusty, with dust in my eyes, nose, mouth, lungs. Then the gunfire exchange started. I tried to rush to my position to man my weapon, but I couldn't move my left arm because I had dislocated my shoulder from the ferocity of the explosion in the wall. I couldn't move my left arm, but yet I told myself, "Mario, you must do this." I ignored the pain, lifted my left arm, walked to my machine gun and started shooting. One of the soldiers ran from ground floor upstairs and said, "Infantry is coming from all sides. Some of them have RPGs." He could see some M60 mortars, the perfect weapon for infantry charges. Due to lights from all the explosions, he couldn't see how many of them they were behind the mortar positions. A couple of 100 meters away maybe? I knew it. We all knew it. We going now to experience something that we didn't want. Being surrounded on all sides. So, clash started. The ferocity of attack was extreme. The bullets were flying through the windows from all directions with mortars, RPGs, 64mm rocket launchers. It was explosion after explosion. So many that I couldn't hear anymore. We were screaming inside. But we knew we couldn't surrender. We knew we should, but our destiny would be totally different. We were all going to fight and die together. I was manning my machine gun when I saw them infantry against infantry in an open field. They were running like a crazy, like something from a medieval age. I wasn't sure what was going on or what's going to happen. Then something outrageous happened. For some reason, the attack stopped, like nothing had happened. I saw in the distance a couple of armored person vehicles who had come to help us. They started shooting. They were anti-aircraft vehicles mounted with 20mm cannons. They were leveling the horizon, and they helped us so much.